Begin the current Daf, Mesechtas Taanis Daf Chafala. Begin at the top line of the Amid. We would continue with the theme of the previous Daf regarding walls that were really going to fall, which was related to Allah of our Mishnah regarding Kaisel Ru'ua, that if it's a Kaisel Bari and it falls down, then we're Masriyan. So then we got into a whole discussion regarding different tzaddikim that preventing walls from falling down. Just corresponds with the Cheskel Tenim Dabachaim, Shemad Zahovna Aliyah. And some of the discussions today's up are how the merits of the righteous protect them in this world, decreeing fast when the tragedies occur in a faraway place. The merits of Nachamish Gamzu, discussing the famous story of Nachamish Gamzu. What qualifies as pestilence, making it into dever, how many people have to die. The merits of other great sages and tzaddikim. Gamzu Taiva is the concept of that even if something bad, seemingly bad happened, you see that this too is for the good. Oyel Mayed is another name for the Mishkan, is the tent of the assembly, where Hashem, his presence is revealed. Tzaras is the nega of Tzaras. So begin the current daf, the Chafal, top line of the Amid. The Gemara brings an interesting story. Ilfa v'Rabbi Yochanan, two big Talmidei Chachamim, have a garsi by Raisa. They were learning in Kyle, they were sitting and learning. The Chikalu Milsa Tuva. But the situation was very pressing. They were very poor, and they couldn't provide. They said, okay, Nakim, the nasal, let's get up and we'll go. But nevertheless, let's do some business. The Nekaim ben Avshin will fulfill ourselves what it says in the Var. Efes, that it shouldn't be amongst you any paupers, which Rashi says, B'cha is by you, that you should make sure that you're not poor. So it's not just giving tzedakah to other people, make sure that you have, and let's go do some business. Azlu, so they got up, they said, okay, we're leaving Kyle, we're going to work. So they were sitting beneath a shaky wall. And they were breaking bread, they were having a meal. Also, so two ministering angels came. So Rabbi Yochanan heard that one was talking to the other one, and he said like this, Nishti alayu haigudav neklinu. Says, let's throw the wall down on these guys and let them die. Why? Because they're forsaking the life of the world to come. And they're going to be engaged as a little right? Just make sure he's paying attention. And they engaged in a temporary, in a momentary life, which is olam hazeh, which that is business. And they're leaving the life of Torah and they're going to work. So the other Malach said to the other one, interesting conversation they're having, he said, Shavkin, no, leave them. There's one of them, the Kaimalei Shaita, that he's going to have a moment, meaning he's ultimately going to become a gadol, a great one. It's not his time to die yet. Now, Rabbi Yochanan heard this conversation. Ilfa didn't hear this. Rabbi Yochanan said to Ilfa, did the master hear anything? I didn't hear anything. So he said to himself, for the fact that I heard this conversation, but Ilfa did not hear this. So Shema Mina, what you could infer from this is from the fact that I heard it, it's obviously I'm the one that's going to become a gadol. Just go understand how this manifests over here. So Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm going back to learn in Kail. Again, just to Rabbi Yochanan could have been a nice, good, successful businessman, but he heard this, how great he could be, and he says, I'm going back. I'm going to fulfill myself later on in that pasuk. It says, because it will not cease to be a paupers from amongst the people of the land. So he says, okay, I'm going to have bedaychik, but he says, I'm going to go back and learn. So Birchna went back to Koil. Ilfa did not go back. By the time Ilfa came back, he went to the show, to the expo, whatever it is, by the time he came back from doing business, Malach Rabbi Yochanan was already the king. He was appointed to be the Rosh Hashiva. The reason why he's called the king is because the custom was in those days that the Rosh Hashiva, they would make him great and they would give him money and make him actually wealthy. Like the Gemara says regarding the Kohen Gadol, in Yomid Chesem and Aleph, Kohen HaGadol Me'echav, you have to be Magadlei Mishal Echav. They gave him Bishtitz. As the Ruv Dumadafim gave him. You want a Zah Rosh Hashiva? So they made him, he became like the Melech. Amrullah, so the people of the town said to Ilfa, if the master, if you would have sat and learned, So there's two different Gersois Taisus brings. Lahaba Malach Mar is either you don't think you would have been the Rosh Hashiva, or it's Benichus says that Lahaba Malach Mar Rabbi Yechanan would not have become the Rosh Hashiva. We would have made you the Rosh Hashiva like we did for Rabbi Yechanan, because like Rashi tells us, Ilfa was more learned than Rabbi Yechanan. Imagine that a great Rabbi Yechanan, Ilfa would have been the Rosh Hashiva. So he wasn't going to take this umbrage of that, how, he knew he could have been the Rosh Hashiva. So Azal, Tola Nafshe Ba'askari Desventa, he went and he suspended himself from the mast of a ship, a very long pole which is stuck into the center of the boat, and he suspended himself from that. And Amay said like this: I could see, like, standing there on top of the mast. He's on top and he's having the show, and he says, he says, if anyone's going to ask me from one of the brises, the Rebbeinu Reisha, who they organized their brises based on Rabbeinu HaKadosh, who was their teacher, who was put together Mishnayos. Bryce is really the same thing as Mishnayos, just they're on the outside. They weren't put into the primary text of the Mishnayos. So he says, everyone's going to ask me for one of the brises. And I'm not going to find a Mishnah that says like that brisa. Says, I'm going to jump off from the mast of the boat and I'm going to drown. In other words, what he meant to say, what Rashi says very importantly, he says, even though I went to work, he says, I still know how to learn better than him. So that's what he was trying to say. So Asa who's Sabbath. So along came an elderly person, and Tanale, he taught him the following brisa. In other words, he asked from him this brisa to say, show me where the source of this brisa is in Mishnayos. The brisa is like this: if someone died and he left his money in a trustworthy third party, and he said, he says, Tenu shekel lebonai b'Shabbos. He told that person, I'm passing on, give a shekel to my sons every single week. A shekel is a half a selah to use for the expenses of the week. But ve'hen ru'in lo sislam selah. This is not what he said, but he had many sons. Really, it's not fit for them to survive on half a selah. They really would need a full selah week. So Allah is selah. We give the sons a selah. Why? He said a shekel. Because if his intention was really that they should only have a shekel, he would have said, don't give them but only a shekel. He didn't say that. He says, give them a shekel. He didn't say, Al titnu lehem el shekel. So why did he say give them a shekel? And he didn't say give them a selah if he knows that the halacha is going to be, and he's not saying don't give them only a shekel. So the reason is because he wants to teach them diligence and zeal. As the Gemara says in Ksubas of Ayin Mad Aleph, that it's that you should get them, don't rely on the tata. He wants to teach them derech eretz, want you guys to be, work for your money, and he knows they're going to get a selah. But he's saying give them a shekel, like they should be like, okay, we have to make sure, we have to be, conservative, and we have to try to make sure everything is balanced, our budget. But you can give them a selah. But if he says Al titnu lehem ela shekel, but let's say he says explicitly, he says don't give them but a shekel, then there's no a shekel. He came explicitly to say don't give them but a shekel, so then you give them only a shekel. Now, let's say he said that if my sons, when they die, yushrachim tachteim, that other people should inherit in place of them. So then the halach is going to be bein shamer tenu, whether he said give the shekel, or bein shamer al titnu, or whether he said the more stringent terminology, don't give but more than a shekel. Either one of these cases now, ein nizmel a shekel, you only give a shekel. Why? Because he revealed his intention that he doesn't want to give them more than a shekel a week, so that when they die, that those others, that third party, should inherit in place of them. Because he's saying when they die, so obviously he doesn't want them to use it up. So who is this like? They asked Ilfa, said, here's this brisa, show me a Mishnah that says like this brisa. So Ilfa said to him, Hamani, who is the Tana this brisa that even though they really cannot support themselves with less than a selah a week, we're only going to give them a shekel when the father who passed away said that he wants someone else to inherit after the children? It's Remeir, it's like Remeir. The Amad that he says in a Mishnah of Samachtes Mabeis, mitzvah l'kayim divrei hames. There's a mitzvah to fulfill the words of the dying person. Because if it's not a mitzvah, the truth is that you would give them everything that's fit for them because all the money is theirs. And the other people don't have any rights to it only after that they die, if there's some leftovers, and if not, they don't take. But since we want to be Mekayim Devar of Shalmeis, that the other people should inherit after his sons. So we scrimp and we try to be as stingy as possible on the money that we're giving to the sons, so that there should be leftovers, so that the other people could be able to inherit. Who is this brisa like? It's like Rameh in the Mishnah, Masechet Ksubas. So this is how the Gemara ends. I don't know if it shows it's we can't get into business and wissen wie zu lernen besser from the Rosh Hashiva, but that's how it ends. That he was able to show himself that even though he went to work, he still knew how to learn better, and he was able to show how the brisa was the words of the Mishnah. But Lamaisa, it did not become the Rosh Hashiva. What? It was Rabbi Shmuel in Masech Zovus. Rabbi Shmuel, Rishim Yechoy, that's the Machlekes in Brachas, Dav Lamed Hey, that which one is Manichin Chai Oilam, Loiskim Chai Yeshua. So the Gemara brings another story with a shaky house. Again, related to the tzaddik with a well-known personality. Omer Alav Al Nachum Ish Gamzu. They said regarding Nachum, the man of Gamzu, which some say was the name of a place, Gamzu, but we know why he's called Ish Gamzu, as he was going to tell us shortly. He was blind in his two eyes. Gid Mishtei Yadav, his two hands were amputated. Kitei Mishtei Raglav, his two legs were amputated. His whole body was full of blisters. And he was in a shaky house. And the legs of his bed were placed into buckets of water, so that ants shouldn't crawl up the legs of the bed, because since he was an amputee, if they would climb up, he wouldn't be able to take his hands and to throw away the ants. So they had to put the legs of the bed into buckets of water. Now, Pamachas, one time, like we said, his bed was in a shaky house. So so the students wanted to clear out his bed. And then after they clear him out, then to clear out all the furniture. He said to them, Bana, my sons, first take out the furniture. And then take out my bed. Because it's guaranteed to you, as long as I'm in the house, the house is not going to collapse. So Pinas came, so that's what they did. They cleared out the furniture. And then they took out his bed. But nothing labayis, and the house collapsed. So the student said to Rebbe, our teacher, if you're a totally righteous person, what's the situation that you're such yisurim in life? He said to them, my sons, I caused this to myself. Why? One time I was on a journey on the way to my father-in-law. And I had with me I had with me a load of 3 donkeys worth. See, Allah Aiden is, pay attention over here. It's on his way to his shver. And what's he bringing? Echad shal Michael, 1 donkey load of food. Echad shal Mishta, and 1 of beverage. Echad shal Min Magadan, and 1 of all different types of delicacies. Now, so he's on his way to the shver. I don't know if all problems happen on the way to the shver, but on the Echad, 1 pauper came along, and he stood by me by the road. He said to me, Rebbe Parnaseni, please support me. I said to him, Hamtin, okay, wait a second. I have to get down and unload from the donkey. So I didn't get a chance to unload from the donkey until his soul left him. He says, I went and I fell on his face. And I said like this, my eyes that did not have compassion on your eyes, Yisuma should be blinded. My hands that didn't have compassion on your hands, Yiskadmu should be cut off. My legs that didn't have compassion on your legs, Yiskadmu should be cut off. But in the Skara Daiti, and I didn't, my consciousness wasn't calmed down, cooled down, until I said, my whole body should be full with blisters, with boils. I said to him, so what to us that we saw you like this? He said to them, woe to me if you didn't see me like this. Because again, he's saying the kapara of the Yisurim that he had for that story that he regretted. Now, it says the Gemara about my Karle Nachum Ish Gamzu. Why was he called Nachum, the man of Gamzu? Because the Chol Milsadav, the Solkale, anything that would happen to him, which Rashi says, any event, even if it was bad, he would say, Gamzu l'tayva, that this too is for the good, and therefore he got the name Gamzu, which is this too, which obviously the good is good. But this too, that even the bad is also for the good. Now, one time the Jewish people wanted to send a Dur Lebei Kesef. a gift to the Caesar. Amru man Yezel said, who's going to go? So they said, Yezel Nachamish Gamz, let Nachamish Gamz go. The Malumad ben Nisan, who he is learned with miracles, which is always for danger. You're going to bring something to the Caesar, make sure it works out. Miracles are done for him, let's send him. So Shadri Biyadi, they sent in his hand, Moli Sifta Davam Tevis Magalias. They sent him a whole treasure chest full with precious gems and pearls. Azal he went, Vaspa Hudida, and he slept in a certain apartment, in a certain motel. Now, Balelia at nighttime, Kamahanach de Yuroi, the members of that house got up, and Vashaklino Lesifte, they took his whole treasure chest, Umalunu Afra, and they filled it up with earth. Now, Kimat Hasan, when he got over there, Shadina Lesifte, they opened up the chest, Chazun de Mala Afra, they saw it's full of earth. So the king wanted to kill all the, Rashi says financially, so it's a euphemism, wanted to kill out all the Jewish people. The Jews are coming, they probably were trying to smear the Caesar, probably needed some help, and they're sending earth to me. He says, the Jews are mocking me. What did Nachamish Gamzu say? But this is also for the good. Eliyahu became along. He appeared to them as if he was one of the Caesar's ministers. Amalei said to the Caesar, he says, maybe this earth is maybe it's from the biblical figure of Avram, their father, when he fought together with the Malachim. We know it says in the Bible that they fought with the kings, and that the Chiyavashabe Afra, when they threw earth at them, have a sayafe, it turned into swords. Gile, when they would throw straw, have a gila, turned into arrows. So it says in the pasuk in Yeshaya. Yitin ka'afar, he gives like dirt, charba his sword, and kashnidov, like the wind-blown straw, is kashta, is his bow, where, the straw became a bow, and the dirt became a sword. So, Havachadim and then there was this one country, that they couldn't conquer. And Batku Minei, they checked with this earth, but they were able to conquer them because you just take earth and throw it at them, it turns into swords. So Aylul Beginzi, they brought him into the king's treasure house, Umalu Lesifte, and they filled it up, his treasure chest with abundant taibas, margolias, precious stones and pearls, and they sent him away with a great honor. Now Kiyasu, when he was on his way back, so Bisu Bahudi, he stayed again in that same apartment. Amalei, they said to him, Mayasis Badaf, what'd you bring with you? The Abdillah Yikr Kulihai, meaning, what'd you do that you brought to the Caesar that they honored you with so much? Amalahu, he said to them, My Deshakli Mahacha, what I took from here, Amatulasam, is what I brought over there. So Sasul Dirai, so they demolished their apartment, from Tin Lebe Malka, and they brought it to the Caesar. Amalei, they said to him, Hayafa the Aise Hacha, that earth that they brought to you over here, Mididanu, it's from us. And we brought our whole house here, we demolished it all and brought the whole earth. But Kuvalashkachu, they checked it and it didn't work out. And they executed the inhabitants of that house. That was the story of Nachamish Gamzu. Going back to Allah of the Mishnah said, regarding things that Masriyan, that we scream about right away, said, Ezehu Dever, what's considered pestilence, a plague? So it's Ira Mitzir Chamash Meizrag L'Chulu. If you have a town that has 500 inhabitants, and you have 3 people who die in 3 days, so that's considered, like we're saying, a plague, epidemic, whatever it is, that would be considered a Masriyan right away. So talking about when the Brisa elaborates on this, it talks about the metrics that's considered a dever. Let's say a town that has 1,500 people. Could go in Kfar Akkad, like the village of Akkad. The Yotzim and the Tishamesim, it's just saying that the proportions would be the same. If, let's say, 9 people die, 3 consecutive days, that is a deva. That's considered a situation of deva, and we're masriim. But if they die in 1 day, or to the contrary, like B'dalad Yom in 4 days, into deva, that wouldn't be considered deva. Deva specifically in this order of 1 a day, or proportionally 3 a day if you have triple the amount of people in town. Whereas if you have a town that has 500 people in the town, we're going Kfar Mikoi, and you have 3 people dying in 3 consecutive days, each day 1 person dying. Again, that would be considered as Dev. Days, but let's say it's in 1 day, like or in 4 days, into Dev, like Rashi says, because if it happens, let's say 1 day, it's not a Kabul Chaymer, that's a Kroy Ba'alma, that just happens to be, that's not the normal spreading of a plague. A plague would happen in that feature of the proportionately per day people are dying, that would be considered as a Dev. Now, Derekris, which is Iram Mitzvah Chomesh Meis Ragli Haba, was a town that had 500 people of the census of that town. Now, 3 people died on one day. Because Rav Nachman of Chizah Tanisi, he actually did decree a public fast. So Rabbi Yitzchak, he says, come on, who's that like? Because it's not like the brises that we just brought that said it has to be 3 in 3 days, not 3 in 1 day. He says, it's like Rameir. Dama that he says, in regards to the laws of a Shur Hamud, which is brought in Baba Kama and Parakitza the Regel, that says, what's a tam, what's a mu'ud? A mu'ud is, says Rabbi Yehuda, that if you warned him for 3 consecutive days, and the ox gored, and it killed, it becomes a Shur Hamud. Rameir says, anytime that you warned him 3 times, and meaning when you were made on the person that did it 3 times, even in 1 day. Rabbi Yehuda holds, it says, mitmol is from 2 days, today and yesterday, and shulshem is 3, which is from 3 days. Rameir, however, holds, no, if when the ox distances its goring, meaning it's goring on 3 different days, 3 consecutive days, chayev, its liable becomes a shavuid. So when it makes the goring closer, where it gores 3 times in 1 day, like Kolshkin is, like Kolshkin for sure, it's going to be considered a shavuid. So therefore, that's the same thing by Dever, where although 3 in 3 days is considered Dever, he holds a Rameir that 3 in 1 day for sure would be considered as a Dever and would be considered as a plague. That's the Machlekes of Yehuda and Rameir. Now, parenthetical, it seems that once we mentioned Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, so Amalei Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda, Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, where Rav Nachman by Yitzchak was sitting amongst people that weren't so distinguished. So Rav Nachman by Rav Chizda says, Lei Kamar, let the master get up, and Leisa Lekaban, come to us, come to the more VIP section from the Talmidei Chacham. Amalei said to him, Tanina, we learned a very interesting quote. Rabbi Shloimy says, Loi Mekoimish Alod Mechabli. It's not the place of a person that honors him. He says, I'm going to go and sit over there. That place that I'm sitting on the day is not going to honor me. The person honors his place. And so the fact where I'm here or there doesn't make a difference. It's not the external trappings of the place where I'm going to be. It's me who honors the place. The Gemara brings 2 proofs to this concept. We find by Har Sinai, she calls Mancha Shechina Shuyilov, as long as the divine presence was resting on it. Amr Torah says in Shemais, Kamatzayin v'alboka al yiru, that also the sheep and the cattle should not graze because of the divine presence that's on Har Sinai that makes it honorable and holy. They should not graze al mula harahu, opposite that mountain. Now, for the fact that it says hahu, it sounds like as long as it had that greatness that the divine presence was on it. Stalker Shchin Minenu, once the divine presence was removed from it, which Rashi goes to all explanation to explain from the 2 times the luchos were given, but be that as it may, when it removed itself, Amar Torah says in Shemais, when the conclusion of the shofar blast, which is when the Shchin is going to remove itself, which the custom is that one does a long, what we call a Tchi Gedolah at the conclusion, but when the shofar blast stops, they can go up on the mountain. So you see that it's not the Makam that honors it, it's meaning like the Shekhinah that honors the Makam, and it wasn't Har Sinai per se. It's the what you're bringing to the place. So do we find regarding the Mishkan, the oil moed in the Midbar. As long as it was spread out, it was assembled. Torah says in my Midbar, so whoever has tzaras has to be sent out of the Machana. But Hugla Barech is the moment that when they would travel and they would roll up the curtains of the oil mayid, Huchu Zavin Ramatzuran Lakanslasham. Zavin, Mitzuran, they're permitted to go into the Machna. So you see that it's not the actual Makam that's Machabed. It's the person, it's the Shchina, it's the Kedusha that's Machabed the Makam. So Amalei, so he said back to him, he says, if that's the case, I'll come to you. You don't want to come to us, you have this whole shtick of Torah that's will come to you. Amalei said to him, no. Better let it be 100, that's the son of 50, which is half of a mana, to come to Eitzel Mana ben Mana, to come to a Mana, who is the son of a Mana. Yavi Mana ben Mana, and let not, let's say, $100 bill, who is the son of a $100 bill, to come Eitzel Mana ben Pras, to come to someone who's a $100 bill, but the son of a $50 bill. where the father of Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda was greater than Yitzchak, the father of Rav Nachman. As Rashi and Tosfos both point out, that he was called Rav Chizda, meaning one was Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda, the other one was only Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Obviously, he didn't have smicha. His father was not Rabbi Yitzchak, so therefore he said, which my version was, how could he talk like that about his father? But he's saying that your father is greater than my father, so you're a mana ben mana, and I'm a mana ben pras. It's not appropriate that the mana ben mana should come to the mana ben pras, and therefore you shouldn't come to me. So I don't know how the story ended. He didn't want to come to him because he says Ein hamokim mechaber. He says no, you don't come to me because that would not be appropriate either. Now the Gemara continues regarding this halach of dever. The surah havers devarta. In surah there was a dever, there was a plague, but b'shivivuse in the neighborhood the Rav lehavers devarta. There was no dever in that pinked in that neighborhood. Some they thought mishum zchus the Rav because it must be the Ruv, Rav, his merit was very great, and that's why there's no dever in that place. However, is chazilu bechilma. Those people that thought, it's interesting, those people who thought that it was the merit of Rav that was protecting that neighborhood, they were shown in their dream, no, Rav, the nefisha zchus tuva, Rav, his merits are very great. This would be a small thing for Rav. It's almost like too small of a miracle for the greatness of Rav. This miracle actually that this neighborhood is saved is because of the person in the neighborhood. The Shail Modav Zavil Lekvuda, that he would lend out, he had a gamach for hoes and shovels for burial. And because he worked for Misaskim, he worked for like someone that's helping out for burial, so therefore it was Mida Keneged Mida that the deaths didn't affect that neighborhood. Nothing to do with the Rosh Hashiv, with the Rav, because that was much greater than that. Similarly, B'Terekris Habes the lake though. In Drekris there was a fire. Now, in that neighborhood of Ravuna, Lahabes the lake that there was no fire. Sabmina, they thought the schus of Ravuna Nafish must be the great merit of Ravuna that's protecting the neighborhood. Those people who thought like that were shown in a dream. No, this is a kind of character for Ravuna. This is not, you don't need Ravuna for this. And Itza is actually a certain woman, the Mechames Tanuda. She would heat up the oven, she would lend it out to her neighbors after she heated up from her own. She would lend out the heated oven for the women to be able to bake stuff in there. So therefore it's measured, Mida Keneged Mida, the fire of the oven for the fire of the town, and therefore their neighborhood was protected because of this woman. Now, Amalei Rabbi Yehuda, continue on this about Masri and about dangers that come from different areas. They said to Rabbi Yehuda, Asu Kamtzi, that the locusts that deplete the produce are coming. So Rabbi Taanis, they declared a fast. Amalei, they said to him, but loy kama fast them, says that they haven't destroyed anything, and we don't have to decree a fast. So I don't know who he said to them, Abda Aisu Badayu? Did they come with provisions with them that you think they're not going to ruin the produce? And they didn't come with any bags of with some silver foil and with all the foil or whatever, all the different, if we have it by the tikkun, they didn't come with that. They're going to be eating up all your stuff. Similarly, another story where Amalei Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Yehuda, Ikka my son of the Chazir, says that there's a plague amongst the swine. So Gazas Hanis, they declare a public fast. So the Gemara says, Name except Rabbi Yehuda, that's the Rabbi Yehuda holds the Makam Mushaleches b'minechad, when you have a spreading disease amongst one species. Mushalachas mukalamin, you consider as if it's spreading amongst all different species. This was only by the swine. So he said, no, really, if it's just one species, we're not concerned for other species too. But Shana Chaziri, swine are different. The Damyan Mai'ahu livnei inchi. We know we have the swine flu, but they say that the intestines of the swine are similar to that of the human intestines, where that they don't have an inner rumen like other animals, which is more similar because the digestive tract of animals are different. They have another stomach, and the swine don't have it, which is similar to the human's digestive tract in that way. So it's a bad omen. So if the swine have this disease, say he made it for the people. Now, Tyson points out that from here it would seem that if, let's say, there's a plague by the idol worshippers, that we have to be concerned also, we should fast. Because here we see they made a taanis from a deva that was by chazer. because their intestines are similar to a human being. For sure, a Gentile, which is definitely similar to a Jew, if they have the plague, if they have a pandemic, we should also have a Taanis, where because of the creatures are similar, most definitely, as we see Kalachayma from the Chazer. Amlei l'Shmuel, they said to Shmuel, Ika Maisna Bechazai. He said that there's a plague in Bechazai, which was a place in the Babylonian kingdom. So because of Tanesa, he made a fast in his town. Amalei said to him, it's very far away. We're not to be concerned that maybe the pandemic is going to come over here. No Omicron over here. He says, Leka Mavra Hacha the Pasikle. Says, what, you think that we have some type of bridges and other partitions that are going to separate from the plague that shouldn't come over here? We see how quick these things travel, and therefore, he says, we have to make a Taanis. Only Rav Nachman, I said to Rav Nachman, Ikam Yisrael Ba'ad Yisrael. It says there's a plague in Eretz Yisrael. So because of the Taanis, he made a Taanis. He said, Im Gevira like him, if the princess, if the mistress is getting hit, Shivchale Koshkin, so the maidservant isn't it all the more so? We have to be concerned that if in Eretz Yisrael they have it, for sure, all the other lands, maybe the plague is going to come here. The Gemara wonders, it sounds like time the Gevir B'Shivcha. It sounds like his logic was coming because of the princess and the maidservants, which is what Eretz Yisrael is to the other lands. Hashivcha B'Shivcha. But let's say it was a maidservant and a maidservant, meaning two cities out of Eretz Yisrael, like Bechazai and Arda, which is where Shmuel lived, that then he wouldn't be concerned. But they said to Shmuel, as we mentioned before, that there's a plague in Bechazai. But God Taanis, and he did decree a fast. So the Imam Shani House, and there is different. The even the Ikar Shayarta, since there is caravans, which in today's times we know it's every time there's a traveler coming from some other country, there's caravans and they come from Bechazai to Narda, the love at which it escorts it comes with them, and the Asibadai, and then they discovered the new variant in that country, the person who was in South Africa, wherever it is, that's where it's coming. Gemara says, interesting story. Abba Umna, have a osile shalma min mesifta dirikia. He would get a heavenly greeting from the heavenly mesifta. A baskal would come and tell him every day, Shalom Aleichem. He would get a greeting kol yom, every day from Shemayim. L'abaya, f'abaya, kol mali yom Shabbat. Every Erev Shabbos, he would get a greeting from Shemayim. L'gava kol mali yom Kippur. From Rabbi, he only got every Erev Yom Kippur. Now, v'kochol should daite da Abaya, v'shem da Abba Umna. Abaya was disheartened that here's Abba Umna, here he is, he's the Rosh Hashiva, he's the Gadol Adar Abaya, and this doctor, Abba Umna, gets a greeting from Shemai every single day. Amalei, they said to him, you cannot do like Abba Umna, don't feel disheartened. Says what was these great maisim of Abba Umna, which Umna is a terminology of Makas Dam. He was a bloodletting, which in Talmudic times was a important practice for taking away the congestion of the blood. So what did he do? When he would do his practice, when he would do the bloodletting of people, he would make separate waiting rooms for the men and for the women for modesty. Now, the Isli Lavusha, this big carton, he had a cloak, I hope not like the white ones that we have to wear, but he had a certain type of a garment that had in it a hole, which is where he would do the bloodletting, and the women would wear this garment to have us bezia kikasilta, that he was able to pierce them with the lancet only in that hole. And kiavas is asli itza, so when the woman would come to him, have a malbashla, she would put on this garment. But that he wouldn't look at her. Literally, it would be a hole the size of just the lancet. That's the only thing would happen. This leduchta did tzniya, and we see everything is about tzniya, it's about modesty. Additionally, he had a discreet place, the shadibei pshite, that people would put coins over there, the shakal that he would take. The Islay, whoever had money to pay for his services, shadibei would put in money. The Leslie, whoever didn't have, Leimiksa wouldn't be embarrassed because after the person got his treatment, no one would know if he put in money there or not because it was in a discreet place. Now, when a Talmudic scholar, a Talmud Chacham would come to him for treatment, he definitely wouldn't take money from the Talmud Chacham. Moreover, when the Talmud Chacham would leave, you have the Pshita, he would give him money. He would tell him, Zil Bri Nafshach, go ahead and heal yourself, which after bloodletting people would be weak. Go ahead, Asasida, go out to get a good lunch. And Yom Echad, one day, Shoder Abaye Zugi de Rabban Niftiki. So this Abaye is like, the Chassid Shemas is the Rebbe goes and he is in this town, this Ying he's going to be his Shuttev in Olam Haba. He says, who's this that gets a greeting from every day? And I get once a week. So the peer of rabbis to go and check him out to see what's actually going on. So Izvinu, so this Abu Umna, he sat him down, Vachlina, Vashkina, gave him to eat, gave him to drink. And it sounds like Taka Chassid Shemaisa, but the literature would learn with him, right? This is sit down, and drink a bissel, right? And then he laid them down at nighttime, a nice volna, hamid, something a nice rug to lay on. And as he continued up with Chabezim and Aleph, L'tzafra Karchinu. In the morning, so these Talmidei Chachamim, they took this expensive woolen rug of Abu Umna, they rolled it up for sheklinu, and they took it to the marketplace to sell it. They went out to the marketplace, and guess who they find? They took his rug and they find Abu Umna in the market. Amrulay, they tell Abu Umna, tell us, how much do you think this rug is worth? If you want to pay us, how much is it worth? Now, they were checking him to see if he's going to suspect them that they're obviously robbers, because here they go, they took his expensive oriental rug and they're selling it. They're asking him, how much do you think it's worth? Do you want to buy it? Or if, let's say, he's going to devalue it a little bit less than it's what it's worth because he's got nothing here, they stole my things, they wanted it. So he'll try to give him a lower price. So Amalem, said to them, Hachiv, gave him a fair price. Amalem, they said to him, maybe it's worth more. Amalem said to them, no, this is how much I paid for it, so I know how much it's worth. It's not worth any more. Amalei, they said to him, Didach dihu. It's actually yours, and we actually took it from you. Amalei, so they said to him, we beg of you, what did you suspect us when you saw that we took it? Amalahem, he said to them, Amina, I said, it probably happened that the rabbis had a great mitzvah of redeeming captives. And they were embarrassed to tell me that they needed to go ahead and collect money right away that I should give them. So therefore, they stayed overnight because they wanted to go ahead and try to find a way, but they were just too embarrassed. Amalei, they said to him, okay, now we don't want to take this. We just wanted to test you, so take back the rug. Amalei said to them, no. From that moment that I saw you took it, I already was masech my das for charity that this was going to go to tzedakah. And that's why Abu Umna was so great that I got a greeting every day from Shemayim. The Gemara concludes, you see how this is how life is. Everyone's jealous of the other one, where they have a greater level. So Rava was jealous of Abaye, because Rava only got a greeting every Erev Kippur. Abaye got every single Erev Shabbos. Amalei, they said to Rava, Mistayech, it's enough for you, don't worry, the Komagnis Akula Kracha, you protect for the older members of your city. Dayecha, don't worry, don't think that your merit is not so great, because Abaye gets a greeting every Shabbos. You protect your whole city. Thank you anytime for hosting us.